Hi everybody and welcome to the Mental Toughness and Body Show. My name is Rob Evans and I'm your weight loss coach, health strategist and internationally published author, helping take your life and your business, your health, fitness, mindset and body from where you are right now to where it is that you want to be. And today I want to talk to you about your mindset and in the context of that, adaptability and how adaptable you are to your changing environment. One of the things that I can get frustrated with is the technology. I'm sure you can relate to this. You get a new device, say at home, and you, I'm going to use something like, say, Apple TV. So I got one of those not that long ago. And so you plug the device into the TV, you have a look at the quick start options, you think, okay, well, I just plug this in and put it on this mode on your TV like HDMI and then just hope that it all connects all nicely. But usually if you're like me, nothing ever runs smoothly straight away and you try to work it out simply and you think nothing just works seamlessly. Why isn't it easier than it is? Then you go to something like, oh, heaven forbid, you change your phone, right? And getting all your data from one phone to the other, then setting up your apps again and doing all that kind of stuff. Like, it drives you crazy, right? You think all that extra time that you have to spend doing those things. You get a new piece of software and you've got to learn how to use it. For me, the technology side can drive me a little bit nutso. And sometimes I just wish that somebody else would just do this for me so that I could just switch on the TV and bang, there it is. But I don't know whether you're like me. What I find is that the pain and the suffering of working out how to use the technology or the software or the hardware for that matter, there is always some growth and learning in that for me. Because we don't know what we don't know. Right? And when we use something, we think, okay, well, I'm using it for this. But then through your struggle to find out how the thing works, you find a feature that you've never even thought of before. And you thought, oh, that's actually really cool. Yeah, I know you will have heard this one before, but Henry Ford, he talked about the fact that if he had ever asked people what they wanted back before the motor vehicle was invented, they would have said they wanted a faster horse. But instead, what he did was he said, well, no, I'm going to create a faster vehicle, which nobody's ever seen before, that's motorised, that doesn't need to have an animal and can go way faster than an animal. So people don't know what they don't know. So why am I telling you this? It's important to be adaptable. We need to be able to adapt to our changing circumstances. And one of the things that I've really stepped up in the last 2 months is a real awareness around the technology that I'm using in my business and around the way that I've previously worked with people. When you have been successful in your business, it's very easy to become complacent. You know, you're getting the financial returns, you're serving people, you're doing really well, you feel good about what you're doing, wealth is growing, people are happy. That can be great, but aren't there also many examples around the world where complacency has led to their ultimate demise? The big one that I can immediately think of are people like Kodak. Thought that digital cameras would be just a passing fancy. Blockbuster didn't see that streaming of videos would be, or movies, would be something that would ever take away their businesses. The taxi service and Uber, like taxis have been decimated, that industry has been decimated because of Uber. Who would have ever thought that you could create that model and say, well, no, you've got to have this fleet of vehicles, because that's what we've been programmed and conditioned to do by virtue of the taxi service. But it's just different thinking. So I've been thinking about how I work with my clients, and even though I've been very successful, I think, it's time for me to change some of the ways that I capture leads, for instance. And understanding what's going on out in industry, like what's working in social media, what's working generally in marketing now, how is video versus text, how are images versus different types of videos, 3D videos, that kind of stuff. A podcast, for instance, now, like the one that I'm doing right now, a really great way and simple way to build your brand. Interviewing people, putting your show out there. I mean, I've almost done, it's close to 1,500 episodes now across my 2 podcast platforms, the Rob Evans 365 one and the Mental Toughness and Body Show. So it provides a different way, a unique way of marketing who you are and what you're doing, which years ago I wouldn't have done at all. But now I do it every day, twice. Social media has been something that I have resisted and been involved with, but really wanted somebody else to do it for me, because it's like, man, I just don't like it. But instead, I said, well, hang on a second. You do some buying off social media. I go through and I'll see, there's whether it's on Facebook or Instagram, I think, actually, I could really use that for my business or personally, whatever. I haven't done a lot of it, but I've made probably 3 purchases over the last 4 weeks through social media. Not through Google searches, but through social media ads that have been put in front of me for something that I've wanted at that particular time. So it really works. It got me thinking, I need to be putting my things out there in a better way and different and keeping it interesting and doing it consistently, looking at my audience, looking at the messages, looking at what's the authentic me, not trying to be someone else, because I think that's what I've been trying to do for many years. Just looking, okay, well, that person's posting this, so I need to find something where I can post something about that as well. And then the next day I'd look for something and say, that looks interesting. I'm going to create something around that as well. I wasn't consistent with it. I wouldn't post on weekends, and it wasn't giving me any results. So I decided to change it and immerse myself completely in it. And through that process, you find a better way of doing things. And I have. So I use video now. I do video exercises. I do video recipes. I do also printed type, I'm going to say like A4 style recipes as pictures. I do mindset posts, I'm doing health posts, I'm doing nutrition posts, I'm doing mindfulness posts. I love the mindset side of things. And I'm not just posting an image. Sometimes it's an image with a few words. Sometimes it might be just an image, to be honest, with all the words are on the image. Other times it's a post with the image, with a message and a story. Then I do similar things on Instagram. Like right now, I'm not doing a lot of different things on Instagram than I am with my social media, but I'm doing some of that. So I decided that I needed to just change my decision, my mindset around it, and say, well, stop resisting it, immerse yourself in it, and create better outcomes for yourself. And it's starting to pay dividends because people are noticing. They're saying, gosh, I can see that you're really active on social media at the moment. I got a message from an inactive client last night actually saying that she is loving my posts at the moment, and she said she'll be back soon. She just had some surgery. She said she'll be back soon. And so you just don't know what touch points that you're going to reach, but if you're consistent with it and you adapt to the changing environment, then that's where you're going to stay ahead of your competitors. One of the other areas I love looking at success. So I like looking at other industries and what they're doing and saying, well, There's no one in my industry that's doing anything like that. Or there might be a few people that are doing something, but there's not a lot. And so even though I have a global mindset, if I bring it back to my local area, there's certainly no one that is branded like I am, that presents like I do, does what I do in the way that I do it, and is certainly not as professional as I do it. So people, become attached to me, and it's like, wow, this guy is just in another class of his own when it comes to health and wellness and mindset. So I'm always looking for not to become complacent, but how do I keep moving forward? So one of the ways that I capture leads from people at the moment is the same one, like it's through whether you go to my website or Google or whatever, I'm driving people to opt in for a consultation. Now, when people opt in for a consultation, I give them a free report or up to 6 free reports. I've had that same, if you like, little bait for the last 11 years. Same reports. Even though I've got heaps of different reports. Well, actually, no, I've tried some different ones from time to time. But essentially, it's the same thing. Now, that's a little bit antiquated now. People aren't downloading reports to a large extent and getting that information. They want something different. So I'm about to start changing all that to a quiz, where people can opt in for a quiz, get a consultation at the end of it. That has required quite a little bit of work from me to learn how to do it. But in terms of, and I use a thing called Typeform, if you're wondering where to do that. In me learning that over the last couple of days, I've been digging really deep. I've spent about 8 hours or probably more, maybe close to 10 or 12 hours, learning how to use this thing. And in coming up with the different logic that sits behind it, I came up with different questions and a different approach to the way that I would have otherwise done it. Now, I wouldn't have, if I had have just said to somebody, create a quiz for me, go and do that, I wouldn't have immersed myself into the app, and I wouldn't have worked out that I should do it differently. I should think differently. So sometimes you just need to immerse yourself to find out what you don't know. It's finding out that, well, actually, yeah, you don't just need a faster horse. You need to create something completely different, like a sexy motor vehicle that goes way faster than the horse. For me, I have to immerse myself in it. I have to stumble. I have to struggle with the technology. I have to learn it. I then have to see, okay, this is how I can use it more effectively. And look, it's never about starting anything from scratch. It's about learning from others, watching videos, so that you can use it to its best possible potential. So today's message is about adaptability. I want you to think about the industry that you work in and think about how can you be adapting what it is that you've been doing for years to change it. Learn from other organisations so that you can say, well, yeah, actually that front end of my website needs to change. One of the other things that I haven't been doing, but I will be, is, when you've purchased something yourself, for instance, or you go to purchase something and then you get distracted or you change your mind. What happens is, in my instance, that's it. I'll send a reminder email, maybe a couple of days later, somebody hasn't opted in for a consultation or something. But where you've gone to buy something and then you get a reminder, it might be from Amazon or somewhere, and you get a reminder saying, oh, I can see that you have left something in your shopping cart, or you've just got one more step to go to complete that sale because you've added it, but you haven't completed it because you've either got distracted, changed your mind or whatever. I mean, I've gotten those before, and then I've said, oh yeah, I didn't finish that, or yeah, I wasn't really into it, but now that you've sent me that email, I will. So you click on it and go back in. I heard something last week saying that there's 32 touch points that people need to have with someone now before you get that sale. Now I get that some will be one touch point and bang, it's done, but the average is 32 touch points. And so I'm been missing out on a whole bunch of these opportunities. So now I'm going to build those things into my process as well. The other one is about the upsell. So somebody opts in for a service. In the past, I would just take them straight to their shopping cart. Now what I'm going to do is say, okay, you've bought something, you take them to the next step. Oh, before you go, how would you consider like buying a copy of the book, buying a copy of the online program, something else. I haven't done that in the past either. I decided that I needed to change all of that. And so even though I haven't got it in place yet, this is what I'm going to be working on over the next few weeks, getting all these things done. And it's doing one campaign at a time. So I'm working on one right now. It's a big one, but it's probably the most important one because it's the one for my leads up front. I'm telling you all of this because it's important to make sure that we have an adaptability change mindset and learning how that we can always be thinking about what could I be doing better, who are really great in this particular area, so you can opt in for their services and see how they do it and say, why reinvent the wheel? If somebody's doing it really great already, why don't you do that? Why don't you just use the same approach, use the same technology? Like there's plenty of people out there that are posting on social media that are doing a really great job of it. Have a look at the way they do it. Have a look at the types of posts they're putting up and say, actually, yeah, that would be really good for me. I see so much rubbish on social media that it puts me off. But I think, okay, well, you can not get lost in that and just post control your own content. And that's the way that I do it, trying to get enough variety in there that keeps people interested, thinking about my audience and what it is that they're really looking for. That daily motivation, a daily challenge, a video here and there, just mixing it up all the time so people are like, oh wow, I want to stay in touch with this person because it's really interesting. They're always giving me something different, something new. And I've noticed the engagement levels have really gone up through the roof. So that's been really, really exciting to see. But it's all come from my decision to just be adaptable and change. If you want to connect with me, you can. Go to the mentaltoughnessandbodyshow.com, opt in for that free consultation. Let's connect. Let's make 2021 your best year yet. Stay safe, everyone. See you tomorrow.